but I'm going to be talking to you about how you can open your project up for opinions that might not be the easiest to encounter in your everyday life. Because we know what open source is like. We know that there are more opinions than there are people most times. And we want those opinions because they're good for us. They're good for our project. They're good for our ecosystem in general. So there you go. Let's get started. We're going to start with some assumptions. I'm assuming that, number one, if you're here, you're aware of what open source is in general. You are probably a solo or a small group of developers. And this advice can be applied to a bigger project. I'm specifically focused on smaller projects here. If you're here, I'm also going to assume that your project is or will shortly be open source and using an OSI approved license, that you don't need convincing of that. I'm also assuming that you are at least considering inviting feedback. You already recognize the importance of having multiple voices. You already are involved in a project. You are already want to use this approach because you want bug reports or feature requests or new ideas and code submissions, but also questions about your choice of everything from language to project structure. You're prepared for that. I'm also assuming that you have time to do the necessary work. This is a lot of work. No project succeeds without more than one committer and some regular community-focused work. And I'm assuming that you have made time for that or you're prepared to make time for that. If you don't, it's going to be really, really difficult for you. I'm also assuming that you understand that people are hard. There are plenty of talks that you can go to talk about CI/CD, especially at events like ATO. I can guarantee you this talk is not that. I am people focused in this, and that's what I'm here to help you with. I'm also assuming that this is an ideal scenario. I know that there are a bunch of different ways to approach this and a bunch of different ways that you might end up at this spot, but this is just like one way that you might approach it. I'm assuming that you will see a lot of projects out there that have not done this work. That's okay. This is not a judgment on them. This is literally just, okay, you're making a very intentional choice. We get to go through this process from the beginning. That doesn't mean you can't do it if you're already past the beginning stages. It just means that that's what we're looking at here. In this talk, I promised you'll get a before you start checklist. You'll also get the things that I think are critical as newcomers start showing up. So the first thing is define your goals. Number one, are you looking for contributors? Are you looking for people to review code contributions? Are you looking for bug fixes and people to work on feature requests? Are you just looking for people to use your project more? So really that's where you're going to be focusing. You have to figure out what your goal is going to be so that you can figure out where to focus your efforts first. Get someone, and try yourself, but you're going to be the hardest one to do this. Get someone to evaluate your project as it is right now. If they want to come submit code, do they know what to do? Do they know how to get there? Do they know how to find the code? Do they know how to interact with you? Do they know what your expectations are? Does your project have a clear audience? Does your project is there documentation around how things are set up and how things work? So now we get to the crux of it, right? Once you have gotten those things done, if this is the first time you've gotten tied up in an open source project or interacted with technology, then you're going to be surprised by new voices and some of the takes that they have. I'm assuming that's not anyone in this room, right? We know what this is going to look like. This is going to be the hardest step in all of this. If you stand in the way of the success of your project, that's on you, right? You need to let go of your ego immediately and if you really want your project to succeed, because there are going to be people that come in and disagree with you with and without valid reasons for doing so. And that's okay. If you can't get to the point where that's okay, then you're not ready to receive feedback. And that's fine, right? We have that like personal investment in the project that we care about. If you can't get to the point where you can take that feedback, that's okay. Just don't ask for it. I promise you it's going to go poorly. Be honest with yourself about whether or not you're going to be there, and about the amount of time that you're going to have to invest in the engagement of new contributors and new voices. The second part is working on the project, getting the things set up here. These are not necessarily in sequential order, but there is a lot of work to be done. Quickly and loudly define how you want people to give you feedback. If you want it to be a chat server, a Mattermost server or something, if you want it to be only in GitHub issues, if you want bug reports in GitHub issues, but you want feature requests in a different place, you have to define that in a way that is very clear to anyone that's coming to your project. Because if you have a process that you want them to follow and it's not defined anywhere and it's not obvious, they're not going to follow it. They're probably not going to follow it even if you have it obviously defined, but at least then you can say, this isn't the right place for this. Can you please follow these directions? Thank you so much. Remember, they're investing their time in giving you feedback, but also you're allowed to say, this isn't the way I want to be interacted with. Templates are going to be your friends. Use them everywhere that you possibly can, because then as a contributor, it's a way easier for me to say, I found this bug, this is all the information you're asking for, and I can just like copy and paste everything in there that you need, right? You'll get consistent feedback in the way that you want it when you use templates. Set and communicate very realistic timelines on your reply times. It's fine if it's going to take you 2 weeks to reply to a bug request or a bug report, but you need to define that for whoever is making the bug report. If they're used to submitting a bug report and getting instant feedback because of the project that they've been working with, and you take 2 weeks, they're going to feel ignored unless you communicate that clearly. It's okay. Either way, just be very clear about what your expectations are and review them on a regular basis. If you say it's going to take up to 10 days and you're consistently taking 1 day, you are not being consistent with what you're saying. So it's okay to say 1 to 10 days based on life. That we all understand that life is life, right? That's okay. Be consistent, like I'm saying. Once you've defined what they are, if you don't follow those, you break trust with the people that are trying to come to you. That's an important thing to pay attention to, how much you are building trust with these people that are interacting with your project. If you want them there, you need to build that trust up. There are a few more things that always come up for me, and so I want to make sure that we touch on them, especially around setting up a project for success. And this kind of came up in Christian's talk, this one. Whether or not you allow AI, especially AI tools, right? All of this is a huge discussion going on in the open source world, because AI is not necessarily always evil, but it is always something that is going to be present at this point. Like, it's not going away. So you have to decide what you want to do with that, with the contributions that involve AI. The question of whether or not you use AI is also going to come up. And I'm going to urge you to use caution. With code, like he said, you always need to know where the training data comes from so that you're not going to get yourself in trouble with the code that gets committed. You can use tools to try to increase your productivity, but never obfuscate what you're doing and what you're using. It's okay. There will be people that judge you for it. That's fine. This is back to remove your ego, right? They're going to have opinions about it. That's fine. If you're happy with what you're doing, that's okay. Always fact check anything you do. If you're doing like a marketing thing and you're getting AI to help you write a blog post, fact check. I think all of us in here know this, but always fact check. And remember, AI is going to tell you the most likely truth, not necessarily the actual truth. Because despite what ChatGPT told me 2 years ago, I have never been to the moon. Promise. to CLA or not CLA. You saw both sides of it with the talk just now. You can always consider having one, and it does protect your project a little bit. It is also going to be something that prevents some developers from wanting to come contribute because they don't want to hand off rights to their code. At Alma Linux, we don't have one because we don't need one. It's not a thing that we've ever had to consider because as how we build, it's really easy for us to not have to require one. If you want to retain ownership or who retains ownership, like that's the big question you have to ask yourself about that. And when you get big enough, you're going to have to define some kind of discussion structure, right? Where you want leadership to be, where you want leadership to manage things, how you want them to communicate out, and then get around to enacting it. You have to have some kind of group leadership for long-term success. There are certainly exceptions, right? There are certainly projects that have been successful without that, but you have to, I'm going to tell you, very rarely is there an exception. So make yourself not a single point of failure and set up some kind of leadership that isn't just you. I have flown through this, right? But there's a lot of recommendations, and I don't want you to miss out on anything, so I will actually share these on my social so you can find them there if you didn't get to them. Remember, if you're clear with yourself about what you want to accomplish, you will actually have clear defined goals, and that's going to drive what you're working on. Don't let your own bias impact your project. The work that you can do in open source is incredible. Let your ego stay out of it. The value of your work and your project is worth setting yourself up for success. These are, like I said, it's a lot of work, but take the time to do the legwork ahead of time, and you will see incredible amounts of a huge difference. That means that you're not feeling like you're running behind later on. And because I can't help myself, I want to add just a couple more things. If your project gets eyes on it, it will come with opinions and love and hate and all of the things that go along with it. In all of that, try to strive for grace and humility. It's going to be hard. You're going to have moments where you want to flip the table. That's okay. In those moments, you have to watch yourself, right? It's one of the hardest things we all have to learn, but we do have to watch ourselves. If you're not having fun, reconsider what you're doing. This is the number of people that have gotten into open source and now feel stuck is sad to me, because this is supposed to be fun. If we're building something that we really like together, it's going to be fun. If you're not having fun, seriously reconsider how it's working, because life is too short for you to not be having fun. Find a partner, especially early on, because then you're not in a silo and you have somebody else that not necessarily holds you accountable, but I always find that if I'm talking to somebody else about something, I'm going to be more excited about it. I'm going to be more engaged. Even if nobody else is coming around to want to contribute, at least we've got each other to talk about stuff. And renew your energy and take care of yourself. Engaging with a large number of people on a regular basis can be extremely draining on yourself, your relationships, your life in general. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. This is my favorite take care of yourself mantra-esque meme on the internet, because it is 100% of the time true for me. Absolutely. Take care of yourself in the best way possible. And if you're having one of those days where everyone is making you angry or everything feels like too much, stop and consider which of these stages you are at. Thank you so much for listening and considering and wanting to be leaders in your communities. This is a great space to be in.